I'm not sure if Fenn deals with that subject in the interview that he did with Playboy about the IRS, but here's the bottom line on that. I think he does discuss the IRS in some fashion. Why would the IRS need to know where you found it? Maybe that was him or someone else. I've been reading so much lately with the idea that I'm going to find the treasure this time that I've been reading a lot of blogs and stuff about what to do when you find it, which is all just people's opinion. In this interview, Fenn says it's very, very muddy for the lawyers to know what to do in this situation no matter what. Because, like my previous example, a lot of these laws are set up for if you find certain things in certain places, they're there to recover the property to the proper owner. Well, this is so odd because you have a man who has he abandoned the treasure chest? If he left it in a farm, here's a great example, and maybe this is what he meant with the whole thing with the. Wow, I never thought of that until just now. Maybe this is what he thought about when he was talking about the hypothetical if you rent a house in West Yellowstone and someone finds the treasure chest in the yard of that house. Who does it belong to? Does it belong to the guy who rented the house? Does it belong to you since you're renting the house? What if the treasure chest is hidden on BLM grazing land? These are tracts of land that are leased to ranchers. They're managed by the BLM, but the ranchers are running their cattle on this land. Maybe that's what he was alluding to. Maybe, if I'm wrong, maybe he, because I never thought of this one, I'll just lay it out there. I never thought it's in a guy's pasture land that he has leased from the BLM. What if it is? Who's it belong to? Does it belong to the BLM? That's everyone's, that's public land. That's everyone's land. Fenn has addressed this many times, this concept that that's your land out there, these public lands. Your land, our land. It's supposed to be all of our land. Maybe his argument would be that simple if it came down to explaining why he left this treasure chest on any land other than private property or Indian land. He would just say, it's public land. It's as much mine as yours. Anyway, the general consensus I've gotten about the IRS is that the IRS is only interested in one thing. They want to know, and I know I'm going to get comments and PMs, and that's fine. That's fine. I love it. That's partially why I do these, as you know, that's partially why I do these videos. I get a lot of comments on my videos, and I love the interaction because some people that comment or PM me are very smart people, and they help me figure stuff out. So, who knows what the ramifications are of finding something on public land in general? But the bottom line is, why worry about it? Don't tell anybody where you found the treasure. Getting back to the IRS. The IRS is going to be, as a couple of people have said on blogs, the IRS has one goal in this whole thing. This is what these people thought. Some other people disagreed with them. The IRS wants to know, they want to make sure the amount of money that you're claiming when you have this treasure and sell it in whatever fashion. I know in my particular case, I've already figured out what I'm going to do. I'm going to give Mr. Fenn back his bracelet, I believe it is, that he wants. I'm going to keep a few choice pieces for myself. And I would hope, and I think it would be cool to do because of this kind of whole aura around the Forrest Fenn treasure chase and all the people that have been involved in it. I think it'd be cool to have someone like Sotheby's auction it off. And of course the experts would figure out whether it's smarter to auction it as one piece, albeit missing a few pieces, or maybe individual pieces. I personally think doing it individually would get you more money, but I don't know. Because even individually, all those pieces are going to be able to be, the owners are going to be able to say, this was part of the, it seems very small, this treasure chest hunt, but maybe if it's found, it'll get a lot bigger, get a lot more exposure, and then it'll mean a little bit more and cost people a little bit more to be able to have a piece of the Forrest Fenn treasure chest in their house. I don't know. But the point I'm trying to make is the IRS is going to be mainly concerned with how much you made so they can tax you. I don't have any idea why the IRS would show up, as some people have suggested, and say, where'd you find it? If I haven't disclosed that. We, the IRS, the Internal Revenue Service, who are here to tax you, want to know where you found the property or found the treasure chest. What difference does it make? It's gonna get as much. It's gonna bring in as much money as it brings in, and that's what you get taxed on. And the other wonderful thing is, and which is why I know I will never, I'm going to tell Mr. Fenn if I'm lucky enough to find it, and smart enough to find it, let's be honest. When I said, Mr. Fenn, I would prefer that we don't discuss where it was at, and I don't know why Mr. Fenn would want to, quite frankly, because people say he could be liable, because he could have, you shouldn't be abandoning things on federal lands, you shouldn't be obviously, on private lands. It's tricky because I think if you leave anything on a private person's land long enough, they get ownership of it. It's been 10 years. Tribal land, sure be. Why tell anyone, folks? Why tell anyone? Vanity is the only reason you would tell anyone, because you want to prove how smart you were when you disclosed the ultimate location. But if you take that out of it, the equation, all the world is going to hear is someone has found the Forrest Fenn treasure chest. Mr. Fenn and the finder have both agreed to not disclose the location. And the finder has returned something to Mr. Fenn that he asked for, and the world will now find out what the owner of the treasure wants to do with the treasure chest. And you say, well, yeah, but who would come forward? Under what auspices would anybody come forward? Fenn mentioned that a very, very good candidate in the searcher's minds for finding, because he gets all these emails, finding the treasure is Glacier National Park, which is up there in Montana, one of the states I'll be in, one of the 2 states. He said you're supposed to turn over to the park superintendent if you find it in Glacier National Park, or Glacier Park. Well, if you don't say it's in Glacier Park, or say it's in Yellowstone Park, which is right fairly near there. They're both in Montana, Wyoming area. Say it's in Glacier Park, or say it's in any other national park. The park superintendent is not going to wake up one morning and open his paper and see that the Forrest Fenn treasure has been found, and Fenn and the searcher who found it have both agreed not to disclose the location. And there we go with another. Remember? 2 men can keep a secret if one of them is dead. Is that what Fenn said? It's not a news saying, but that's another one of those things where I kind of go, again, we're back to this concept of 2 men having a secret. And you can't help but think, he talked about how long this thing was put together, and you think, God, what really happened was he just kept adding things as he thought about things. He just kept adding things. This park superintendent wakes up one morning, he runs, we'll say Glacier, since Fenn made a point of saying that in his interview. And he says, he looks at the paper, and, the Forrest Fenn treasure hunt. No location disclosed. What's that park superintendent going to do? Put in a claim? Why? He doesn't have any idea it was found in Glacier National Park, even though he's a superintendent. Why would he do a thing? He wouldn't. He'd be like any other person in the world reading this account and just say, oh, well, I kind of vaguely know what that's about. Oh, they found it. Okay, well, good luck to everyone. He's not going to have a clue. If Farmer Jones, it was taken from his property, and Fenn and the searcher agree not to disclose the location, Farmer Jones isn't going to go, you know, Nellie, I think I might go see if I can get a claim in on that since. No. Nobody knows. Nobody knows. It'll be wonderful. It'll add to the mystery. The mystery will continue. It's kind of cool in a way if you think about it. But that searcher, whoever he is, and I hope it's me, he'll spend the rest of his days getting bugged about the location. People aren't going to let that go. Boy, can you imagine all the searchers not being told the location? The only way I could see the location being disclosed is wherever it's found, if eventually legal heads, because in my particular case, I'm hiring a lawyer the minute I find it. I assume most people are going to do that if they find it. And, you know, I tell him it's client privilege, you know, so it's not like he's going to tell anyone he shouldn't. Please go find out the laws, the ramifications legally for where I found it. And maybe he'll come to me and say, you know, in this particular place where you found it, you'll end up paying a fine. It may be worth it to go tell the world then. Who knows? But I'll tell you what, before I find out and get to the point of hiring a lawyer and everything, I'm not saying a word about where I found it. I would suggest if you're the one that finds it, you do the very same thing. So that's why I have chosen why not to tell. I'm not going to disclose no matter what happens within the next 2 weeks. I'm not going to disclose the location, and I hope Mr. Fenn goes along with that decision on my part. Folks, thank you for bearing with me. I know this one turned out a little longer than they always do, and I know a lot of you are kind of roll your eyes when you hear the person saying they think they found it. That's fine. If you felt that way, you can turn it off a long time ago. There are just a certain number of us out there that are really actively looking, and I assume some people are interested no matter what. You can't go on these treasure hunts without thinking you're going to find the treasure. I've said this before. People say, well, you sound so sure of yourself. Yeah, I am sure of myself, but I wouldn't go if I wasn't. And that goes back to the days where I just thought I was going to get to a particular place and then kind of have to go, figure it out as I went. I'm not doing that this time. I know exactly where I'm going. I know exactly what I'm looking for, and then I have to find the blaze, but I'll be in a certain area. So, we'll see what happens. It's very exciting times for me. I'm very excited. I'm not looking forward to the weather, and I'm going to have to wade in water at one point, and so I will be wearing, I've said before one time that I would just, instead of wearing waders, I would just wear my tennis shoes, because they're kind of durable tennis shoes. No, I've got these plastic fishing shoes. They're very, very comfortable, and they're made for being in the water. They're made for fishing, so it's going to be cold. The effort will be worth the cold. That's what I'm doing very shortly. Very excited, folks. Hope everyone's having a wonderful time. If I don't find it, I'm going back out at the end of the summer after the crowds have left. And if I don't find it, I will say this before I go. And if I don't find it at the end of the summer, knowing as much as I know now, I'm done, because this thing's not working well enough. I mean, if with what I know now to go out there, if I can't find it, I'm an idiot. If I can't find it, it's not worth pursuing any longer. That's all I can say. Everybody have a good time. And, happy Mother's Day to everyone that's a mother. Today is Mother's Day. See you later. Bye.